For the past 2 legislative sessions, I've supported the Women's Equality Act, only to see it vehemently stuck in the legislature. This is completely unacceptable. Why do we need the Women's Equality Act? It's a fact that women in New York earn 84 cents for every dollar earned. It's a fact that reproductive rights are not protected in New York state law. It's a fact that women are sexually harassed every day in the workplace. It's a fact that pregnant women have no legal recourse in New York State if they are discriminated against because they are pregnant.
These women, they're fired up, they're ready, and they do want action. And here's our call to action. We are going to shatter the glass ceiling in the state of New York that has held back too many women from their full potential. And we are going to stand up for the freedoms and the rights under Roe v. Wade that we have had for 40 years in this country. Nobody's going to mess with that in the state of New York. And we are going to pass the full women's equality agenda, so not a single woman in this state who feels she's treated less than equal by our laws. And my friends, that will be our legacy. They'll be talking about you in the future, that you stood up and you were there when our state needs you, all the women to come, including this. Where's your little daughter, Samantha? Where? All right, this is your cue story. Which is why we don't just need the governor, and I'm so excited about this election, you can just feel we need anybody. But let me tell you, people like Justin are going to be game changers for us, because that's the vote we're looking for. That is the vote we're going to need. He has taken the lead on so many issues that we care about. He's fought for people in poverty. He's fought on Medicare. He's fought against gun violence. But I'll tell you, he's got to be remembered for one thing, and that is his support for the women's equality agenda the second he's elected. And that is why I am so proud to announce that Governor Andrew Cuomo and I are endorsing his candidacy to make him the next senator from the party district right here, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give it to Justin.
I think we have one more speaker. Do you want to get down? Okay. That's a My Little Pony dress. And true story, I went out shopping. You might not be surprised, I don't dress myself very well. And so in a campaign, you have to go out and pick out some clothes that are campaign appropriate. And Samantha walked all around Macy's with me very, very patiently, and at the end she actually picked that out, so I bought that little pony dress. Thank you, this is incredibly, incredibly humbling to have everyone here, to be just on the stage with such tremendous advocates and leaders. And I want to first thank Congresswoman Hochul and the Governor for their support. We're going to work very hard in these next 17 days to get across the line and get to Albany, aren't we? I also want to thank, you've just met Samantha, but also my wife Christine is here. These are the women in my life that are very, very important. And you should also know that today is Christine's birthday. And when we got married on the banks of the Hudson, Dutchess County, where I grew up, I don't think she ever thought she'd be spending a birthday on a campaign bus. I apologize. But we do have great dinner plans tonight, so the campaign day ends a little early. Listen, we need to pass the Women's Equality Act, and we need to do it not just for all the reasons that you've heard, all the good policy and substantive reasons, but because every one of us has a personal story why this is so important. For me, I think of my grandmother. My grandmother grew up in the Depression. Her father drove a milk truck in New York City. And like a lot of folks who grew up, she grew up poor. But she did something unique for a woman her age growing up in the Depression. She finished high school and she went to college. That degree she had from Hunter was one of the most proud moments of her life, and she told her grandkids about it virtually every week. But my grandmother hit a glass ceiling pretty early. Now, she raised 7 kids and worked for the town as a town clerk. But she hit that glass ceiling, and she didn't complain about it. She did the work. She was a happy person. She lived a great life. And I know my daughter will have so many more opportunities than my grandmother did. But I look at the other side of the coin. That's not good enough. Why are our daughters still growing up in a world where they make less than their male colleagues? Why are our daughters still growing up in a world where sexual harassment and domestic violence are in the news every single day? Why are our daughters still growing up in a world where their constitutional freedoms are constantly under attack by these right-wing extremists? It's not acceptable, and that's why we need to pass the Women's Equality Act. Women's equality is the great unfinished business of this century. Senator Clinton said that. Maybe one day we'll put a different title in front of her name. Great unfinished business of this century. Well, we got to get to work. It's 2014. We're 14 years in. And I would say right here in the state of New York, we have a great opportunity to do it. And it is true. In the New York State Senate right now, we are 1 vote short of passing the Women's Equality Act. 1 vote short. I will tell you, and I am pledging today, to be that single vote to put the Women's Equality Act over. Now, the choice on the other side is pretty stark, and I always like easy choices for voters. My opponent, Mr. Murphy, is proudly anti-choice. He's called himself a pro-life type of guy, and he said that he will do everything in his power to stop the Women's Equality Act. Those are his words. Everything in his power. And I say, a pro-life type of guy? Well, I want to tell you what type of guy I am. I'm going to be a guy that stands up for Roe v. Wade. I'm going to be a guy that makes sure that politicians don't get between a woman and their doctor. And I'm going to be the type of guy that passes the Women's Equality Act. We have to do this, folks. And we have to do this, and this rally is a great way to celebrate what we all believe, but we all need your help. These candidates, these campaigns that are going hard in these last couple of weeks need your help. And I know a lot of you are already doing a lot. But find one more thing, 2 more things to do. Make phone calls, knock on doors. It makes a difference. There's a lot of outside money flowing into this district, but that's not going to beat us if we go and talk to voters and look them in the eyes, because we are right on the issues. The voters are with us. We just have to reach them. And I just want to say this in closing, that as humbling as this all is, as humbling as spending time with so many good friends, with family, and I hope future colleagues, I very much hope to be back in this library after January, after we pass the Women's Equality Act, to celebrate what we've done. But to do that, we need to work very hard in the last couple weeks. I want to thank Governor Cuomo, I want to thank Congresswoman Hochul for elevating this issue. You know, for our campaign, we constantly try to make the point that there's a real big difference on this issue. It's not always easy to get through the media, but the fact that we have such great champions at the top of the ticket is going to make us successful. So I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank this tremendous crowd and really inspirational leaders behind me. But I just want to ask one more time, help us make history, and help it by getting out the vote. Thank you.